We literally have one of, in my personal opinion, like from what I know, one of the most famous twin flame couples that started off as the Twin Soul Poets. They maintain that. I think it's a ridiculous honor to actually be on the call with these twin souls right here, the flames that I've been following via YouTube, and I've watched them go from the stages of being under 1,000 subscribers to blowing that out of the water. And I really think their career is absolutely cranking. I'm here with my twin flow as well, Vanessa, and I think this is something unique on this hot and heavy episode. We want to say, hey, what's your names? Introduce us, like bring us into a little bit of some excitement about what people want to hear when it comes to twin flame, something that is just
totally
shocks.
Well, first, I just want to say, like, we're honored, Pernell, Bobby, and Vanessa, to like be talking to you all and to be having this conversation and this synergy and connection. Like, it's an honor for us, and thank you for that. That was a very awesome introduction. Made me feel good, and definitely like resonates with what we're creating. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And we are Twin Soul Poets. My name is Hamilton. This is Ingrid. We are love and relationship coaches. We are spoken word poets. And on our YouTube channel, we create all kinds of uplifting content around those topics. We do private coaching through our website, twinsoulpoets.com, and we do live performances.
And we're also actors as well.
We're also actors in film and television. So, you know, we got our hands in a lot of different things, but we're really excited to talk about this topic in particular because this is something that really means a lot to us. I think it's massively important for everything that's happening on the planet right now. And we're excited to dive into it.
So where you at?
Yeah, I would like to know, I'm super excited to speak with you today because it's the first time I meet you here in Zoom and live, and it's amazing to see shining together. And I'm super excited. How long are you already united as a twin flame couple? And as well, what would you say is your big mission together?
Wow.
Those are great questions. First, I'd love to say that we just, to celebrate 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, we released our Way We Met story on our channel, Twin Soul Poets. So I would definitely encourage people, because that goes into depth on our very like interesting journey of how we met,
a lot of
the synchronicities and signs. You know, if you're in a twin flame relationship, you know, like the synchronicities can get crazy and just really like amazing. So please check that out. It's our Way We Met story, Twin Soul Poets. But we met back in 2013 and married in 2017. So we just celebrated our 4-year wedding anniversary. Hamilton said we got our bachelor's in marriage.
We just got a degree in marriage.
And I thought that made sense because it felt like that. It felt like I got a degree because, you know, there's a lot of ups and downs on this journey. You know, I think we always love to point out that union is when it begins. You know, union isn't this place you get and then it's just like, I got union. You know, union is the start of the journey. And I can't emphasize that enough. I mean, it's amazing and beautiful, but sometimes it's hard. And sometimes it's like, man, like, we've got to really, you know, make a decision to grow here because, you know, this is challenging us. This mirror is right in my face and it's given me an opportunity. So
it's a journey, not a mountaintop to be reached.
Right. That's just the beginning for sure. And it's wonderful and beautiful to achieve union, of course, and we help people who have the desire to do that, open up to that frequency and that possibility. But that's when your journey just begins.
Yes.
Wow. That off the rip, thank you for joining, because that was hot and heavy even to begin, because I'm sitting here and I literally remember saying that almost exactly that just like 2 days ago. And I was like, if you can imagine, you know how those heated arguments can get, like, or those heated discussions or those like moments of triggers and healing that activated. Yeah. And I swear that just came out of my mouth and I was something like, what did I say?
Think we are being tested, or
I told her in the morning it was a little hot early, like early one morning. It was like it's too early to be this hot. And I said it, I was like, yo, I'm looking at the transits, I'm thinking about what's happening. I was like, we're being tested. Today is a test day.
Twin flame dynamic is no respecter of time of day, time of year. time of the month if you're a woman. Like, it really doesn't. It's whatever that dynamic wants to teach you.
You gonna get this medicine.
You gonna get this lesson, right?
Yo, it's like I didn't have my coffee yet. Like, no, that's absolutely true. So I thank you for sharing that. Hit me.
Yeah. No,
I thought you were gonna say something.
Yeah.
So Hamilton, you were talking a little bit, we are on the Sex Magic podcast, right? And there's so many taboos around sex. There's so many myths. There are so many people having disconnected sex, right? And one of the requirements in a twin flame union is that all your toxic sex patterns will rise. Like any toxic sex is gonna show itself, and it's gonna say, hey, all these other crackerjack relationships you had is not gonna work right now. It's not the take the toy out of the box type of scenario where like this is a full instruction manual to your soul. So it really requires a soulful and emotional and a very beyond dimensional connected level of sex. It's no longer the act of physical action. What was this technique you're talking about? What is it called? Like, bring me into this and help the people, the readers, the listeners.
Yeah. So I definitely experienced that revealing plenty of toxic patterns for me that just didn't need to be there anymore. And it's interesting that twin flame union even has the word flame like in the symbology. I think
burn it up.
The medicine of fire, right, is that it burns away things that are no longer serving us. It's sort of an invitation to allow those fears or blocks to burn away. But yeah, our relationship has definitely been a constant learning experience for me in that way. Noticing a lot of the ego that I had wrapped up in sexual connection, a performative sense of like, I'm performing really well. I can look how much of a man I am that I can please you in this way and stuff. And all that was just in the way of a really connected, present experience. And, it's something I still work through. But we came across, I think you had read about it
like
years
way
before, but then I also came across this YouTuber who was talking about this book called Cupid's Poison Arrow that was all about this sex practice called pareza. And it's basically, in a nutshell, non-goal oriented version of sex that sort of actively actually avoids orgasm, which can be a tough sell for at least a lot of guys out there. But it really, reading that book and hearing him talk about it, it totally flipped my perspective of sex upside down completely. And we've sort of experimented with it, tried it. It's definitely a journey of like learning through that.
Yes.
But I can say our few experiences with it have been really profound.
It's powerful. I want to say it's an ancient wisdom. So it's not some new thing. I mean, this was based off, very old knowledge, but there was a woman, I believe an Italian woman, who kind of brought the information over to the West. And there are books that we found. We found this one book from like the late 1800s where this woman is talking about this practice as a way to, one, take the stress off for women a lot of the times at that time who were having so many children, were not able to have, a sex life without that concern or worry, and creating this idea that not only is the sexuality healthy for the relationship, but it's healthy for the community and the culture, that when people are relating in this way, it completely changes the energy dynamic of the way people relate in general. It was such, and then she even talked about manifestation and creation, because it's creation energy that you're using in this. I mean, she went so deep, and we're looking at each other like, gosh, this was written over 100 years ago, and she's talking about things that are so relevant right now.
Yeah, and that became something that was very fascinating to me, was the idea that our sexual energy is our creative energy. It's the very same thing. Right. And for me as a man, especially, like learning how to channel that properly and use it in a way that's mindful and intentional, rather than just sort of compulsive or like a neediness kind of thing. And that full disclosure, I came across that video and that YouTuber from one of the patterns and things that was revealed to me for myself was that I was dealing with like a pornography addiction, and how, you know, I think that's just this massive elephant in the room right now for our society as a whole. And you talk about toxic patterns. I mean, I think it's hard to touch on that subject without mentioning pornography, because I think it's a huge contributor to these toxic patterns of, you know, you think about especially like how available it is now with streaming and the internet and things, and just so many children, their first introduction to sex is through things that they're seeing on porn before ever having received any real education about what it is and stuff. And
any kind of like sacred initiation, because even like, you know, in schools you're learning just like the mechanics, but it's like what happened to that sacred initiation, to that beautiful introduction to sex and sexuality. And we always talk about, you know, culturally, the way that we tend to look at and view sex, it's the tip of the iceberg. It's this much of this huge body of energy and potential and possibility. And you wonder, you know, has this intentionally been set up this way? Like, why aren't we educated in that way? Because when you start working with this energy, you start energizing your life, you start seeing things shift in your life. And it's like, we're not told that connection between, like Hamilton was saying, sexual energy and creative energy. So maybe there's a reason that this pornography is so free and accessible. Maybe there's a reason that we're not being taught and shown these, you know, things that could really open our eyes to a lot of things.
That's one thing. It's like there's that one saying, it's like, if something is free, then you are the product, right? And, you know, it just makes you think of what is really going on with this. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be brief, you know, and I'll send it back to you guys, but it's just like, man, there's so much to talk about on this, man.
It's awesome. And we just talked about as well this week that we often think for having sex, we need that physical connection. But even we were as well saying, like, we can have sex without even having sex through different things, but we just get to know the definition of sex we get through porn, through the media, through movies, and we get a definition of orgasm. And actually we already recorded a podcast episode around that topic, and I'm super curious to hear from you, since you are practicing non-goal oriented sex. What shifted in your perception about an orgasm? Did you feel that there was a shift within you?
Well, I just want to say we're still really green in this exploration too, so we've by no means mastered it. But I think that, you know, a lot of the things that we've learned so far, even in Tantra, things like that, they talk about the valley orgasm, for example. So where you're noticing the more subtle shifts and feelings that are happening physically and spiritually. I think that there's all different, orgasm isn't always this explosive thing. It can be this kind of gentle meandering thing, or I've had what I felt like where it was like a heartgasm, where my heart just felt like blasted open, you know, and just crying. Or
I've experienced similar things too, like where there was one time where I literally, my whole body felt almost like numb and vibrating, and like I couldn't quite feel my face, and I had never experienced anything like that before. And that didn't come from like all this extra stimulation or like a sort of typical version of sex that we see. There was a lot of stillness, there was a lot of presence, just that it felt like something deeper, more spiritual level happening. And I had never experienced anything like that. This book that we mentioned talks about the neurological effects of orgasm and sort of the chemical release, the huge highs that happens, and then the sort of hangover effect of that. And getting out of that cycle can be extremely beneficial to one's mood. Like a lot of the arguments and buttings of heads, sometimes they call it like the passion cycle, right? Where if one or both people have had an orgasm within the last 2 weeks, they say how you're that much more likely, like 90% more likely to start getting in an argument for whatever reason. It's like evolutionarily
Yeah, and because of kind of like the release that you've had in your head, you're kind of depleted. And it was just interesting to pay attention to that and be like, ooh, that argument wasn't surprising because we were in a passion cycle. And like, so that was really informative for us to like maybe not take things quite as personally, or just to be aware, hey, we're in this passion cycle, we might have a little more tension. That was pretty fascinating. And also, like, I think another way to look at the orgasm that just kind of came to me is that it's almost like your true self or your divine self's excitement of being acknowledged and being seen and being like present with. It's almost like that part of you was like, ooh, like they're really, you know, kind of becoming aware of what's really beyond underneath the surface. It feels like you can feel that divine excitement coming up in you. And then sometimes, you know, honestly, they said in the book, sometimes it's like watching paint dry. Sometimes, you know, it doesn't feel like there's a lot going on, but that's kind of a retraining of this, you know,
it might be burning away stuff, you know. Right.
It's a retraining of this, oh, I gotta get something, oh, it has to be intense and quick and fast and heavy and hot and, you know, all of that. And sometimes that's fine.
And I've definitely had those experiences of feeling the frustration come up and being like, what, you know, like real visceral, like just anger out of nowhere and just like, you know. So it's interesting to observe all these things, and setting that stage of stillness and presence allows that observer to kind of come into the room and kind of be able to see yourself, see your own patterns.
And to talk about them then as a couple, you know, after whatever, and to not compare any experience to another. Each one stands alone. That's a big thing I've learned. Like you might have this amazing, you know, soul expansive experience one time, and the next time it might be like, womp womp, you know, but it's like each thing has its own lesson.
But there's so much that we don't know too. Like I recently went, like I think like 34 days without orgasm, which was a long time for me. And that experience, like I definitely felt more confident, more present, more just like sort of stabilized mood wise. And there's so much that we don't know too, like for men, a lot of men don't know that like we can have orgasm without ejaculation. Right. There's like all kinds of practices where you can do that orgasm without release. And, you know, obviously that takes training and awareness and education and stuff, but it's like, who even knows that that's possible, you know?
I feel like I'm with Hamilton. Like it feels like the tip of the iceberg of this, and like from some of the things we've read, it's like I would love to try to get through, like I think they say like 30 days. If you can commit to it, you'll really start seeing some deep shifts and changes. And even from the time that we've done it, I feel like that's very true. So I'm very curious, you know, to see if we make it through that kind of length of time. I can imagine what kind of shifts in our outer world will happen as well in our lives. It's like, it's not compartmentalized, right? I mean, my feeling is that everything is connected. So you start having that kind of consciousness and connection in your intimacy. And I feel like that kind of connection will flower out into your life as well.
Oh my God. What an explosion of energy, even though each one doesn't need to be this massive ejaculation like we just discussed. Wow, there's so many angles that I feel like I want to go with this. And if I try to stay in my more clear, focused masculine energy in the moment, I almost want to hit like 3 points, right? Like 3 points. One, I want to make a very clear mention. You've given so much respect to the literature and the information that you've read from other people. I want to let the podcast listeners know right now that the Twin Soul Poets have their own book that I wanted to just sit there and say is going to be down in the description of this episode. So everyone listening, if you really have already enjoyed what you've heard, okay, boom, they got it live on it. Wow. They have 2 books put together, one with her face on it, one with Hamilton's face. That's Ingrid and Hamilton. And it says Love Manifest and Hamilton Trail of Flowers. Trail of Flowers. Wow, that is ridiculously creative. I know you got this lady, Vanessa, cranking over here because she loves all things creative. So one, that's what I wanted to say, get the book down below. 2, I do want to ask you guys to potentially read us a poem. You know, we look at this Hot and Heavy Sex podcast show as a show. All right, we look at it as something to entertain, to educate, and a little bit of both, right? So I love you guys as actors. I've heard some of your skits. One of the most infamous ones that I think of, I don't know what it's called, but it has something to do with slavery in some capacity. I remember Ingrid was like
the Lovings was the story of the interracial couple from Virginia in the 50s that sort of changed the laws on interracial marriage. That's probably our most well-known poem. We won an award for it in 2016.
That was cool because they're from Virginia and we're from Virginia, and we saw this story and we were like, we have to write this poem. It doesn't feel optional. Like, it's like, this is like a direct connection to us even being in a relationship now, our ability to be together now. And it kind of wrote itself, and
it's a very, we always like to say it's a very palpable example of the power of love to create real powerful change in the world. Like, they were two very humble backwoods Virginia people who had no intention of getting caught up into this world of the civil rights movement and everything, but their dedication to just be together changed the entire country. Right. So it was as a powerful example of that love is enough.
Wow. Yeah. That's my number 2. I want you guys to do that if you feel comfortable. Not that specific poem, but to share your book. And third, as we come back from that pause, I would really love to hear maybe one from Ingrid, one from Hamilton. Hamilton, you were speaking about, and I fully agree, and I was talking to Vanessa about this recently, men being able to have multiple orgasms without ejaculation is major. I think men being on live talking about this, you and I, let's say for this specific example, Hamilton, is incredible. So after the poem, I would love for you to give like one real practical practice that people can actually try for men specifically. And Ingrid, if you would maybe after would like to share one tactic around, forgive me, I don't understand. Yes. What's the sex type? What is the form?
Crazy. I already have something for you that, I've already got something I'd love to share.
Okay, boom. I will love that. That's it. Anything? Yeah? What? Anything you want to add in? That was my 1, 2, 3. I'll get their book down below.
Okay, first do that.
Okay. So get their book down below, and we're gonna now tune in full presence on Ingrid.
Okay, I have, maybe we'll have time for 3 because I have this little short one. I think I was feeling frisky this day and thinking about Hamilton. And I wrote a little short poem called Be My Preposition.
Ooh. Behind
me, beneath me, above me, around me, inside me. And that's the end of that poem. And that's a little, that's a little quick one. Little quickie, if you will.
So this one's called My Goddess. And it feels relevant to that deeper sex experience. I feel like God when I'm in bed with you. Like that sparkle in your stare is a universe I just created. Everything we share has a taste of the divine. I love to marvel at your creative design, my love, my goddess. We make love, we make what God is. This is more than fairy tale, more than ancient stories. This is twin embodiments of the most ancient and eternal glory. Glory be to us, and we, I trust, no matter how long I must wait to hold you again. Fate has no concept of time, infinite patience. So be still, be gracious, goddess. Remember that we create this in these sublime spaces. Our intentions become what our fate is. Thank you.
Wow.
I love that piece.
If y'all can't hear it, I'm snapping right now.
That's magic. Wow.
Let's see, you should do the.
I gotta make a comment on that.
All right, Hamilton has a request one.
Yeah, hit me.
I want her to do this one. Huh?
No, I just said I had to make a comment on it. When you were speaking, my body forced its way up to stand upright, to stand tall.
You get that Kundalini energy flowing up.
Waiting and really like trying to impress this goddess almost. So that's what that power of that word just did for me. So thank you, and I'm listening.
Yeah, I love that when poetry straightens your spine.
It's to have that energy flow through you, you know, it's allowing that energy to flow. So this is Hamilton is requesting this poem from me. This is actually a poem that I wrote to him before he left for Thailand and like just kind of blew him away with. I created a journal for him and I had collaged it because I'm really into creating stuff like that and had this poem inside. And I just remember his face, he just
she wrecked me with
brought
this
up
one,
the
man.
tears.
I was like,
And I opened it up and I read this to him
I
before.
was not ready.
Yeah, this is when we were in Richmond and we knew that we were gonna both be leaving. He was going away to Thailand and I was going to Atlanta to, you know, start my life there. So we didn't know we would connect again or what, but this is kind of what I left him with.
And so many of these poems and these books are poems that originally we had just written to each other
Right.
with no intention of ever publishing, but we decided to.
All right, this is called Blue, Green, Yellow. We played peekaboo with God last night. Gazing into each other's eyes, it was no surprise when God showed up. And he saw us seeing him, and she felt us feeling her, and it revealed us revealing its truth beyond all personification. When I and he and you and me and we no longer had any use for pronouns. Lying beneath him, arms open wide on an invisible cross, this was a crucifixion of the ego. As he penetrates my depths, I reach new heights, and I have a conversation with my 11th chakra. She tells me I am the universe, and he responds with the resurrection, rise, erection, rise into me, I am Isis, and I am here to collect the scattered pieces of you and make you whole again. Our union is a shooting star, bright, hot, beautiful, rare, fleeting, always remembered, always cherished. I can still taste the sweetness of you in my mouth, even though our last kiss was days ago. I leave your side and everything is more beautiful than it was before, and the world seems to celebrate this rendezvous of our souls. Always connected in our apartness, our souls trading the recipes for a savory life. I say goodbye to you at the door, my eyes saying what my lips were afraid to. I love you. I think your eyes heard mine. I think I first loved you when I saw your profile. You were sitting in a chair and leaning into the words someone was saying like you wanted to become a part of them. You were so engaged in what was going on and you must have been running your hand back intently through your hair because it was sticking up this way and that, and I just wanted to keep looking at you. Earth, Wind, and Fire sang that sounds never dissipate. They only recreate in another place. You are like a familiar melody to me. I know I've heard your song before. I love your poems and the resonance of your voice when you share them. I love your full lips and blonde hair and how my body opens and surrenders itself to you when you're inside me. I love your presence. I love dancing with you. And I especially love how a quote you shared with me about loneliness while I sipped wine and you drank a beer was the beginning of our friendship. Love, Ingrid. 4/7/13.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I can still feel it.
That one got me again.
It's been a while since I read that.
Yeah, it went whole through the whole body. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you all for being present with it. It always feels good to share this. You know, one of our most powerful performances we ever had, we just read love poems. We did a whole set of love poems and people were just like feeling it. They were like, man, this is like the best thing. And we were so surprised because we were just like, well, we could try this. You know, usually we do our performance pieces and all that. And I think Hamilton was like, what if we just read our love poems? And I was like, we can give it a try and see. And people were just.
It created so much love in the room, man. Like it was such a yummy vibe in there afterwards. And I always like to say, like, sometimes especially in the performance poetry world, like slam poetry and stuff, people I think have this fear that love poetry is like cliche or corny, but when done right and just really sincere and authentic, it's like the best type of poems because it makes you feel love. You know, if you feel the love when you deliver it and open to that, you give that to everyone who's hearing it, and it's like, what's better than that? Everybody likes to feel love, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
I like the heads going simultaneously.
I didn't even notice it either. I was just saying.
You guys are both just.
I was just listening, and I'm like, damn, like, yeah, she's right, he's right, yep. Everybody wants love, like that, and I was shaking my head like that because I don't know who said it or not. I really don't even think it matters, right? Like the whole twin flame thing, right? And it's like something came between us, and it was like, yeah, I mean, who doesn't want? I think she said it. Who doesn't want to feel loved? Like it is that simple sometimes. Like who doesn't want love? Like let's be honest. Like you're lying to yourself. There may be that 1% that just really don't. But if they got deep enough, is that the truth? Like. You know, so we tell ourselves a lot of stories, we tell ourselves a lot of narratives, and I'm definitely one of them. You know, that one of my patterns I had to recognize was my fear of intimacy and how it played out. You know, and I was telling Vanessa, like one of the ways it played out was like connecting with people right before I had a flight. Like it was like unconsciously something that would happen. Like I couldn't even put it together. Like I was just on a plane, like or, and it didn't hit me until I had a partner then. A reflection where now she was on the plane and I was the one being left behind, and it was like, ooh,
yeah,
right? Like so. That
is supernatural.
I'm right there with you, brother.
You should share. So I love, I guess, really briefly we can, but the idea about what you were told about the connection and the masculine, feminine. I think it's just worth saying that when we talk about masculine, feminine, we're talking about energies here. No matter how you identify, you know, this is an energetic thing. So, you know, we're gonna say man and woman because that's how we identify, but like it's really about the energy. But I love that this lesson that Hamilton learned when he was feeling that fear of intimacy and connections. If you can briefly share.
Yeah, I just quickly, like, I definitely resonate with what you said, Pernell, where like I definitely had that same pattern of like always falling for the person who is already in a relationship or leaving on some trip, or I was about to go somewhere, and the timing, and I think that was subconsciously I was attracting those kind of quick connections because it felt safe. And but something that came up.
The quick connection feels safe. Wow, you just hit me with another gem, yo. You dropping the gems. It's getting high. I feel you, bro. I feel you, dude.
We put some like fire emojis popping up here.
Yeah.
Do it in post.
Insert fire here. Something that came to me through a mutual friend of ours who teaches a lot of like the Toltec wisdom path of like the flow of masculine and feminine, and it is like Ingrid said, it's not about gender because we all have, whether you're man or woman, you have masculine and feminine energies within you, and there's a constant dance of those two energies happening with you and your partner, where, you know, sometimes I might be in the feminine and she's in the masculine, however, you know. But in general, what the masculine essence wants the most is freedom. And in general, what the feminine wants the most is security. And what this friend of ours shared with me at a time where we were actually in separation and we were taking time apart to not communicate and just to go into self and get clarity on what we really wanted, because we just sort of come to a crossroads where we're either gonna continue on together or just go our separate ways. And what this friend of mine told me was that, like, in the Toltec wisdom path, what they teach men is actually, even though your truest heart's desire is freedom, and you think that you get that from going and being independent and being by yourself, the way that the masculine actually accesses true freedom is through surrendering to the love of the divine feminine, through surrendering to his partner,
it's so beautiful,
woman, and just opening to that love. And that's where the true freedom is actually found. And man, that blew my mind. And just the timing of her telling me that was so spot on. And, you know, throughout our relationship, I definitely had it revealed to me a lot of different ways that I was kind of shackling myself, you know, a slave to my own limits, fears, you know, addictive patterns, whatever, you know, limiting patterns, all these things. Like, those were the things that were keeping me from really being free.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
basically we capture ourselves, like, or we hold ourselves in a cage. And I would like to add for the woman out there, because I think it's beautiful what you described, and it's really the job of us women to open up our heart for men and give them the opportunity to lean into us with all of them. But we are living in a hypercritical society. We are always seeing just the mistakes, what's going wrong. We want a strong man, but then we cannot see that we all fail in a certain capacity. We all make mistakes. And it's on us women really to remember and access our heart space, and our womb, and the connection between our heart and our womb, to really let the man in and let the man be the man he wants to be. Because I'm deeply convinced the man wants to nurture us women. He wants to be there for us, but he wants to do it in his own way. He doesn't want to have a list from us. Here, please do this. No. If you give him he gives you the world, but he needs that freedom to do that. And certain times he does it in a totally different way we women do. But therefore, we women as well are called to surrender and open our hearts to let that happen.
That's beautifully said. Yes. Yeah, that's powerful.
No, I gotta get one of these. I need one of these. That's the goal.
Love it.
Gold.
Love it.
It's like what?
It's profound.
And it's actually a great transition into your other two questions you had for me. You were asking what the woman or the feminine energy dynamic, or someone who has that prominent feminine energy within them can do. And through this practice of Kareza specifically, and some things that I had read that were really insightful for me, it's to continuously open and open and open. So like the best way I can describe that is a relaxation physically, is an intention to open and to invite in, just as you're saying, Vanessa, like we're inviting in, we're creating a safe space for intimacy and for his heart to open, for the masculine to rest in, but also allowing the masculine to have that direction, which they naturally, will have, that is their instinct. And I think, a lot of us women have felt like we had to go into our masculine to survive, in our culture, the way that our culture is, sometimes you've got to direct and you've got to figure and so it can be hard for a lot of people who identify with that feminine energy to and also to trust that. And that would be the other big portion. And Hamilton and I just talked about this yesterday. The trust is essential. And that is a process. It's not just like trust, you know what I mean? It's just like that. It's a conversation. It's saying, it's conversating and saying, in order for me to provide this kind of openness, trust is crucial. And I had just such an awareness about that for myself. It's like, the more that we can cultivate trust between each other, the more that will play on our intimacy and how deep it can go. Because especially a twin flame relationship, every time I think it's gotten to the most deep love we can get, or the most deep anger we can get, or the most deep sexual experience we can get, there's always more. It's like this, never ending, it just doesn't end. So I think as a woman, especially during a sexual experience, whether you're practicing Kareza or not, if you can just have that mantra of open, because so many, things, Kegels and tight and squeeze, and it's like, try actually relaxing all of that. And you may be surprised for how pleasurable that is for the guy, you know what I mean? It's like that, and I can speak firsthand for that experience of actually relaxing and actually inviting in and putting it, so your body will start taking over, if you start trusting the intuition of your own body.
And even on the energetic level, it's like, from what I learned through like that Toltec wisdom, it's like if you're a man who leans toward that masculine energy, there's often the sense of like, you feel like a wounded warrior. You're entering into the world and you have to fight through life's challenges, and there's a fatigue that comes from that. And being welcomed into that open, safe, warm space of the love of the feminine is like, that's where the wounded warrior can relax and be nurtured and not have to fight anymore. And but it takes a tremendous amount of courage for the feminine to be able to open. It's vulnerable to open
and
your
that's
heart.
why the trust
And
is
so
essential.
trust is key, and that's something you earn by being by creating the safe space for that.
Right, that's the thing, and it comes through the day to day. It comes through following through with what you say you're going to do. It comes through how you resolve an argument. It comes through owning your mistakes, and that's something that we're both learning. We're not perfect at that, but like the more that happens, the more that trust builds up. And that was just such a big. It seems so simple, but such a big revelation for me. I was like, that's key. That trust there. That's how we can flow and ride through all of these dimensions that are opening up to us. But we're not gonna see them if we're not in that space. You'll miss them completely. And I think that's for the best. I don't know that it's safe to go into those realms and those kind of layers and levels if there isn't a very deep trust there.
Being open to that, being welcomed into that heart space, it's actually what allows the masculine to access his own heart space too. It's like through that, penetrating into that, you are open to your own heart space, and it just becomes this beautiful like feedback loop, and sometimes I'm the one that's opening in my feminine, opening my heart and embracing her and that's what melts her out of her masculine. It's a dance. It's a constant dance. This is not a gender-based thing. Like there's so many moments of tension that have just been dissolved through one or the other person, either me or her, making that decision to say, okay, they're in their defensive masculine mode and they're feeling wounded. I can open my heart right now and I don't need words. I can just,
I can just hold them.
And that melts it away. It's like amazing the way that works.
Yo, you're hitting us with the magic, and you said some things that I want to make very clear on this episode. To practice safe sex magic, right? Like, because everything we're speaking about right now, a lot of what we're talking about on the show is sex magic, right? Like Hamilton, you talked about it, like the man even having, I talked about this with Vanessa recently too, like the man even having an intention sometimes prior to that. Like, I don't think everything needs to be so like I gotta focus on my business before sex, but to have an intention, understanding, like you said, it's God force energy, goddess energy that's being released, that can create a human being. It's creation energy. This is very real. So everybody listening, understand what they said and what Ingrid wanted to advise as well. You really should not be doing this to such a level with your first date with somebody, right? Like they were not telling you to go out there and be this open. What's the word? How do you spell this word of the practice of opening and opening and opening? It's not tantric sex. What is this called?
I mean, it's talked about in a lot of different modalities. I mean, the Tao of sex. I don't know what it's called. I just remember reading the wisdom and being like, that resonates.
There's been many different cultures throughout, like all across the planet, that have seen and been very interested in, like, sort of the practice of sexual retention, particularly for the male, like retaining orgasm or retention from ejaculation as a mode of spiritual transcendence.
Yes.
And there's tons of success authors out there who talk about that practice of retention as being crucial to success, creating wealth, creating prosperity, whatever it is. Like tons of fighters, Mike Tyson talks about how he practiced retention for leading up to a fight, and it gave him this incredible strength and just intimidation factor of like. So there's something to it, and there's a lot. I think many men especially are sort of gaining like interest in it right now, and I think it's interesting because I think part of that is from the pornography industry has become such a problem that it's like, while it's getting worse, it's actually creating this need and this awareness for people to be like, man, this is like a really messing me up.
Right, it's affecting the way I can show up in my life. And I think the main thing is that it's so normalized that like a lot of people don't think about it. But you know, the question that Hamilton had read in the book is like, try not watching it for a week. See if you can do it. Can you make it? If you can't make it, if you literally can't, that's something to think about. You know, is this become an addiction? Has this become something that you can't function without? You know, I'm not here to pass judgment on things in general. However, directly, I mean, there's studies, scientific studies done to show what it actually degenerates your brain. Like not figuratively, literally degenerates and damage. Like you can reverse this damage, but it only comes from avoiding watching it because it's completely always sending off those signals and giving it's messing up the reward center of your brain to where you have to do more and more and more just to get that hit of dopamine to function. So it's, you know, that's a whole interesting exploration. There's so much information out there now, which is a great thing. If you want to explore more about Kareza, there's so much out on the internet now.
That's the word, Kareza. Can you spell that word? That's the word, Kareza.
It's Karezza.
And there's also an interesting, if you YouTube it, I remember seeing, I think NBC or somebody had done a little segment on it and showing these couples who had started practicing and they were having troubles in their relationships. And they're like, our whole relationship turned around. The energy between us is so like sexy and fun all the time. And I will say this, like, it's not that you can never orgasm. It's like, if it happens, it happens. So it's not like a shame around it at all.
Right.
Sometimes they're saying that it'll just, your body just knows when that it needs to happen, or you might have that deeper kind of orgasm we were talking about, but it's not the goal. It's not like I have to get to this thing in order for the sexual experience to be worth anything.
It's more so, like you were saying, Pernell, coming to the sexual union experience with a mindfulness where you can literally, like a lot of the books that we were talking about, say to literally come together with your partner before engaging in sex and create an intention together, like speaking out loud, looking into each other's eyes. We are intending to, you know, be present with one another, or we are intending to use this to
for healing,
help create healing for ourselves, whatever it might be. Now you've set a shared intention, and now you're entering into this. I very much am with you, Pernell. Like, this is God, and it's creation energy. You can literally create a new life with this energy. But if you choose to not create a child, you can create whatever you want. You know, it's not just that. You can create all kinds of things, and being mindful of that, because you are creating something, whether you know it or not. So like actively choosing, what am I wanting to create, you know?
Right, and just being aware of who you share that energy with. You know, again, if you're in a space where you just want to enjoy sex and play and do that, just do it consciously. You know, just know that when you connect with someone, that energy, you know, you're carrying that. You're physical on a physical level, that exchange, you know, of bodily fluids and DNA and all stuff. Like, you're picking up some of this person's energy, even just on a physical level, but also spiritually. I think it's wise to just be conscious of that, you know, and just respect your sexual energy and know that this is something very powerful that I'm sharing with someone. This is a gift we're giving each other. So let me just do that with some awareness. You know, I think it's wonderful if you want to explore your sexuality, but just do so with the respect of yourself and the others that you're engaging with.
And I do want to touch briefly on, Pernell, you asked like a practical exercise for men if they want to try this, like experiencing or sometimes called ejaculation. So what I've learned, and I actually experienced this one time where like I felt like I actually like achieved it, where as you're sort of, if you are feeling yourself getting close to orgasm, there's many different practices where it involves breathing and flexing your abdominal muscles and pelvic floor muscles. And as you're maybe getting close, you would flex those muscles and breathe deeply and drawing the energy up and allowing. And as you practice it, it basically is a process of practicing where you're getting closer and closer to that moment of release, and then, you know, flexing those muscles, pulling the energy up. And I had one time where I had been learning about that and whatever, and just in the moment, I thought, as I felt it coming on, I thought, I'll try the thing, you know, and I, you know, sort of flexed those muscles, breathed up in sync with that orgasmic feeling, and just had the intention of bringing that energy up through my spine up to like my crown, basically. And it felt like this explosion in my brain, like,
so it felt like surrender, felt like total
yes.
surrender, right? Yeah.
Yes, and I did not release. I did not release any. I did not ejaculate, but it felt like an orgasm in my brain and in my mind's eye.
His eyes like lit up. I mean, it was wild. Like his eyes changed, and I was like, I almost remember being kind of scared. I was like, oh shit, like what, you know? And that because it's such a powerful burst of energy, and women can do it too. So I think it's nice to like practice on your own if you like masturbation or anything like that, because it can be hard with a partner to do it. So it's like your partner doesn't owe you to figure that out. It's like work with yourself and see what you can do, and then come together.
But reading about it, there's all kinds of like forums and stuff that will give detailed instructions on like.
Right, David Data has great books on how to do that, but it's basically like that Kundalini energy. Same for women. If you feel yourself getting close, you can pull that energy up with that same, if you've ever done Kundalini yoga, that squeeze, you know, down at the bottom, and that they say your anus, your sex organ, and your navel all simultaneously pulled up and breathing in that energy up. I started having experiences of feeling it go up my spine, feeling it up in my jaw. Like, you know, you start exploring these energies and you're like, wow, you know, you can actually channel this and move it like an avatar, you know?
It does feel like God energy. Like I would say that experience was wild. Like it was a very visceral feeling of like, oh, this is what like divine masculine is. Like I that poem that I read, the My Goddess thing, I feel like God when I'm in bed with you. That was kind of like, I think I wrote that after that experience, and I really felt that way. I felt like I was looking at her and just seeing straight through her, and like the piercing awareness of like full presence, full like, like I'm here, you know, and I'd never felt anything like that before.
I know,
and it's just like, man, we're just scratching the surface.
That's another thing I was gonna say. It's like we've just barely touched this, and I want to emphasize that too. We are not like, you know, masters of this yet. I'm not, you know, wanting to be, but we're definitely explorers, and we're definitely interested. We definitely have the intention to see where this goes. So that in and of itself is exciting to me, to know that I have a partner who's willing to kind of traverse those depths with me.
Oh my God, yo, whoa, what the hell? This is literally for me the most hot and heavy episode that we've absolutely had. Like I'm mind blown.
More fire.
Timeout. That's the twin flame union. You get two twin flames on one call. I got to call timeout. Ingrid, I know you got your time. I want to respect that as well. And what I want to do is actually, I want to give you guys a gift on the way out. All right. So beyond the fact of like, we want to say, hey, look, check out their YouTube channel. They are absolutely exploding on there right now. If you're a twin flame couple listening to this, check out their book down below in the description. Go ahead and just invest in that, because you hear them talking. That's the energy going into your space. Here's a gift. So Vanessa's a numerologist, and it's one of the things she does along with Ayurveda. We want to just give you a gift.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. We want to calculate the relationship number, give you one little gift, and then we're going to go ahead, wrap this up, get out of here. I think we got to have you on for a whole nother episode down the line. I think.
Oh yeah, we'll have to come back. I mean, this is, you know, we can talk. It's just such a fascinating thing, especially with another twin flame couple. The energy is just lit. Like
that's just incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have so much knowledge out, and it's like a perfect way really to start with this practice. And I think it's amazing that you shared that. Even in your sense, you feel like you haven't mastered it yet, but I feel like you're already masters in it. And besides who's a master whenever you're doing the practice, and I think that's for me the magic. doing it and not just reading about it, listening,
Yes.
going into the active practice, and then you are a master. It's that easy.
Yes, that's great.
The success is in the trying.
In the
right?
willingness, yeah.
So if you want to give me quickly your birthdays, that would.
Okay, so this is fun. Our birthdays are 1 year and 1 day apart. So do you need the year too?
Yes,
Or
please.
just, okay. I'm June 27th, 1985.
And I'm June 28th, 1986.
Wow. So you like older woman Hamilton?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I make a joke because the last couple we had on our podcast, he was like, yeah, I like older women. And it's funny because you're the next guest after that couple. And it's just funny because it's dynamic. The woman was 1 year older than him.
Quickly calculating 1 second.
This is really cool. It'll probably be stuff you already know, but it like gives a little extra clarity in a way that you may not have thought of perspective.
Yeah.
Life numbers.
Like, are you familiar with life path numbers? Like, do you know your life path number?
A little bit.
I had my only familiarity comes from like diving into a numerology book in Barnes and Noble one time for like 30 minutes, and I was really interested. But that's all I know.
There's a magic to it. Like, you already know that I do astrology really heavy, and it's like the link between numerology and astrology. I mean, it's like everything else in the cosmos. It's all linked. You can figure out how. So there's a very precise link to it, and her and I have been combining this in our relationship coaching, in our relationship space, the astrology with the numerology, and it's been just mind-blowing what comes up. It really been absolutely just insane.
Love it.
It's amazing. So I work a lot with these numbers, and okay, I need 1 second.
Okay.
I definitely like, if there is a language of the universe, I believe that, it would be numbers and mathematics, and, it's just, there's a clarity in it that you don't really get from language.
Right.
Okay, so I got it. So Ingrid, you are life path number 3811. So
oh my God, we're so close. We're so close.
11 is the master number, so that's a really special number.
Nice.
11, like, it's really connected to spirit. It's a spiritual leader in its highest form, and you have 2 times the 1. What makes it even more powerful. My mom is a life path 11. I lived with her. He is a life path 11. He has a different combination of the numbers up front, so it makes a slight difference of like how you approach things in your life. So I would describe them in my own words. They're like maginis. I call him a magini as well. Magical creatures. Not everything makes sense in our earthly common world. So a lot of people struggle with their earthly viewpoints, and you just know it. You cannot really describe it. You see as well a lot of visions, probably, like really visually. You see different things. Not for everyone.
Should be floating sometimes. Just be like, yo, I see it. You see it?
I think too, is like, with being a Cancer, like a lot of things I feel energetically and get senses of things, and I've had all kinds of interesting experiences. I definitely relate to the spiritual teacher title, I guess, because I've always felt spirituality has never felt separate for me. It's always felt like such an important part of life, even from a child. I just remember that's always been a fascination, but it's always been really important for me to nurture that. So
Absolutely.
that makes a lot of sense.
Totally characteristic. Like the 11, they probably as well, they grow up in circumstances, even they are forced to go through really painful childhood experiences. For example, my mom, her dad made suicide very early. So there are always things happening what really, it can happen. It doesn't need to be that dramatic. It can be as well, there's a different sense of how we receive traumas. I don't want to measure.
Yes, I'm very sensitive. Yes.
Yeah. So
it wasn't necessarily that intense, but I definitely relate. It was the way I received any kind of intensity, anger, trauma, arguments, things like that happen around me was so overwhelming to my energy body, I think.
Your entire nervous system is impacted.
The high they can fly, the low they can go. So it's really sometimes an up and down. No, like yeah.
It's just it's down. There's no slope. Like you'd be all the way up. You'd be like, yo, I feel like life is just like a fairy tale, and then it's like, yo, this is hell on earth. Like
hell's going on.
But now I'm moving on to you. So you have the 44. What is a really building and nurturing energy?
That Capricorn placements you have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like slowly and steady, nurturing and building. And you have already as well the 4 before in the 40 and a 0. What kind of makes a 4 really strong for you? Like a really strong, meaning what could be there's an indicator that you're sometimes a little bit rigid, or you don't want to shift the direction. It could be, it don't need to be there. That's just a thing what can happen with the 4. On the other side, there are these step-by-step builders. What's beautiful, because, and this is really important for you to go step by step, not to skip any steps. And if you go along that path, like you are flying and you're really a very nurturing, good base.
You're probably the ground for an 11. Like you're the ground for her. Like when she can be floating too high, like you really become her stable rock. Because Vanessa does that for me as the 11. She really is my stable rock when sometimes like the feeling is just too intense. Like you have that ability to help her be like, hey, this is okay. Like feel safe. So
yeah, but I want to hit you with your partner number, because that's not that easy to find. When I combine the 11, what's a 1 + 1 + 4, I get the number 6. So your shared couples number is the energy of the 6. So in general, each and every number has an energy, and 6 is the energy of love. Like it's a Jesus Christ energy, like it's a unconditionally love energy. They just love families, they love to give, they love the love. And it's a romantic couple, for sure. They have a really idealistic, romantic vision of their relationship. They really crave harmony in each and every layer. They are really trustworthy, they are committed, and it's very important for both of them. So if there's some lag, it could get a little bit itchy, but if they share that trust, it's like perfect for them. The goal is to create a family and to keep the tradition, and to actually live them. What is as well like showing up, you actually go into the practice of this new sex magic practice. Not just reading about, you're exploring it, you're doing it. And it's really important for you that you live both the man and the woman, that you are not always in your roles, like you don't have kids, but you don't put yourself always in the box of a man and then a woman. As you were describing, you have both the energies, and exactly that's super important for that frequency of the 6, that you share and you shift your energies, that as well she can be in her masculine and he can be
totally spot on. That's important. I think I can see, whenever we have a family, that would be very true for us and very important to have that dynamic shift, especially with the work that we do, both as actors and things. Sometimes you'll have to be caretaker, or I'll be caretaker, whoever is being, in those roles, that they can be kind of fluid. I think that's spot on.
And one little thing for the end, what I can give you with on your journey is that you really take yourself time for your desires and for your emotions rising, and then yeah, you create magic here on Earth. I already can see it. You are creating magic on Earth, and yeah, taking.
Yes,
thank you.
And so are you guys.
Yeah,
you know, we just love working with and collaborating with other twin flame couples who are sharing these kind of messages.
Yeah.
It's like I said before, like love is enough to create real powerful change on the planet. And you know, that's been a journey of ours, like stepping into knowing our own value too. And I think I just see you guys prospering, and I want to claim that for you right now, like the prosperity, the abundance coming in for what you're offering to the world, because it's what, like we said, like what can be more valuable than spreading love across the planet? That's what, that's like the most powerful thing. And you know, it's a blessing to be able to do that. And we, like you said, we try to speak from our own experience always. And integrity and authenticity is like number one for us. Yeah. We don't claim to be masters about any of this stuff, you know, but we're always going to be authentic and share from our experience. So anyone who's booking coaching sessions with us or seeking guidance, like that's what we speak from. We come from what we've experienced and what we lived through.
And what we learned. And I think, like, you know, kind of circling back to the beginning of like that the union is just the beginning. It is a day-to-day, moment-to-moment decision to show up. And every day we're learning, and we've fallen flat on our faces a lot of times. And, you know, in those times, like we have to, as individuals, decide, okay, how am I going to show up? And you just trust the other person's going to do that. But I can't, at the end of the day, control what Hamilton does. It's just like, how am I going to show up? And I think the way that your partner shows up greatly can inspire the other to do it. I know that when Hamilton really commits to a practice or is really working on himself or his spirituality, that is an invitation to me, and vice versa. So I think that's just a really important thing to remember, is that every day it's that decision to show up for yourself and show up for your partner, whether you're in a twin flame relationship or not, whatever kind of relationship you're in. That accountability, right?
Yeah, it doesn't mean, the trust doesn't mean that you never make mistakes with each other. It just means that you know that when mistakes and falling short does happen, that you know you're both committed to doing what you can to fix those things, to find healing, to find resolution, to show up and say, yeah, I messed up, and here's what I'm offering to do to fix that, and here's how I'm trying to get better, you know. And you grow through it together. And that's been that fire. That's been
my last couple of days, man. I've been like, yo, Vanessa, I just fucked up. Like, I got it. Like, you're right. Like I can't go anywhere. There's nowhere to run. Like, I'm like, you're right. I just fucked up, period. Like, it was just that simple. Like, I recognize it, and it sucks. I'm gonna swallow this in my own ways, because I recognize what I need to do and how I need to show up in different ways. So I wanna really, again, respect Angry. I know you got your obligations to go out into the world and spread that selfless love, the number 6, your relationship. So that's a little gift we wanted to give you. Thank you for hearing it out.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
that was awesome, Vanessa. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we gotta have a part 2. We gotta have a part 2. We gotta have a part 2.
Yeah, for sure.
No question.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't wait to come back together with you all. Thank you so much for inviting us on. It's so nice to connect with you, Vanessa, and meet you. Like, you know, Pernell, Bobby, you already know, like we already knew it was the energy dynamic was good, but this is even more awesome. Now we have this like twin flame, powerful, you know, energy going on. So I can't wait till the next time. And maybe some of your audience will have ideas of what they'd like to hear us talk about. If there was an area that was really exciting to them, like maybe we could go deeper there.
And make sure anyone listening right now, make sure you hit these guys up, Pernell and Vanessa, like what they are offering together. Like I can say again, from our experience, the reading that we got from Pernell, that where he read our charts, and the kind of guidance and like insight we were able to get from that was like profound, and it was very encouraging, and like really led us in the right direction. These are really powerful things that you guys are working with.
Right. And you can watch that reading on our channel. Actually, we have it up.
Yes.
Definitely go and check it out.
Yeah.
It's like twin flame astrology reading, and it's just,
Yeah.
it was really fascinating, a lot of fun. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Big love. I'll see you
Much
soon.
love,
Have
much
a
love,
beautiful
much love.
day. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will definitely be getting back together really soon.
Absolutely. I'll see you soon, y'all.
All right.
Peace.